spirits, healing, even death itself. And in
Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to do that. I accidentally paused my own video there, so if it skips, it's because I accidentally paused myself instead of her. I wanted to actually go back and pause where she's saying that like women are given like the actual power of God. So here's kind of like the funny thing that I see between like her comment and the comment of Sister Dennis. Okay, I had to pause again really quickly. I had a little one get up out of bed for a second, so I had to help her. So, but what I wanted to point out here is that a similarity that she basically, or something that she reiterates with Sister Dennis's talk is basically she's saying with very strong language, like, hey, she's not like not acknowledging that other religions have, like women in positions of authority. She's saying in a more broad sense, like all of the women in the Mormon church have the power of God and authority. So, I mean, which it's like, well, now you're back to square one again, because even though you're wanting to say that people are being reactive and maybe reacting unfairly out of context, I don't know how you can really claim that with this, because again, you're still putting everyone else in this other category, in this other box outside of Mormonism, where it's like, yeah, like that's great. That's great that those other women have those positions of authority and power in their churches, but like we have the real authority and it's given to all the women in the church. So, I mean, we have the real power of God. And so again, I feel like it's one of these things that I mentioned this in my video of, what Mormons say about people who leave. Um, I don't think that all the time that they hear themselves and that they hear how it comes across to other people, I didn't even really hear it until I left. And so, I mean, it's like you have this special like, like these rose-colored glasses on, but also with your ears as well. It's like you have like you have something that is just like it's not filtering through the way that everyone else is hearing it. And so I wanted to point that out. I can't remember if she goes on to say a little bit more specifically about that.
the temple, we learn that it's this kind of priesthood, the patriarchal order of the priesthood, that leads to exaltation and glory, not necessarily the organizational or ecclesiastical order of the priesthood.
Okay, so here's where I find her argument really flawed too, because it's almost like she's trying to advocate for women saying like, hey, we have like the ultimate authority. Well, yeah, but so do the men, and they actually are in positions of ecclesiastical and hierarchical authority, and it's literally indicated in the canonized scripture and by several quotes and through the structure of the church and everything as it's patterned after the next life. Like that is what is indicated. So I mean, I don't see how this is making things better. What Sister Dennis said, I don't feel like it was really that out of context, to be frank. And ultimately, like it's still very much is the same overarching message, which is that women really don't have power. Okay. You're claiming that we do. You're claiming that we have the only power from God. Again, we're othered within our own church while we other everyone outside the church. It's just the irony of the day. It drives me crazy when I listen to things like this, because she's like explaining the hell out of things, trying to say, like, hey, she's not saying anything offensive, really. Like, you're just misunderstanding. Well, no, I'm not. You're just saying it in a way, way lengthier way. And you're also still trying to somehow make sense of the fact that like the ecclesiastical hierarchy that exists here in this time now with the church is somehow not as important, or that it isn't going to somehow be represented the same way in the next life, even though everything would indicate to the contrary, as far as we have like through the foundation of the church through Joseph Smith and church history and other prophets. So I really don't know how she thinks that she's like talking her way around this, but that's just my thought on that.
And God invests this kind of power and authority into his covenant children, both his sons and his daughters. I think it is beautiful, and I agree with Sister Dennis that it is vast in scale. But women's priesthood power also has implications for the organizational functioning of the church. Because our church has a lay clergy, and all of the functions of our church are run by volunteer members of the congregation, and the whole congregation participates, not just a select few. All women in the church more broadly and more regularly preach Sunday sermons, publicly pray, hold leadership positions, and perform ordinances in the context of the temple. Again, she's not comparing the social structuring of women's power to men's power in this context. She's comparing the godly authority women have in our church at a large scale to other religious organizations. I know a lot of women who have had difficult experiences in their church service, so this can be a sensitive topic. People are entitled to feel the pain of those experiences, and we should still be having these important conversations. But I would like to hope that we can at least recognize what Sister Dennis was trying to communicate, so that we're not talking past each other. If you want to study the text of the whole talk, I'm going to be putting a link in my Instagram story and bio.
So, I mean, I appreciate that she acknowledges that people have gone through these difficult experiences. I appreciate that she does also say that, like the comments that have been made, like, very well could be true. But I still think, okay, well, you even just admitted at the end there that the same exact power and authority from God, the power that's only given to special Mormons, it's given to the men and women alike. So her whole point in her talk was that like women are special in the church because we're given so much power. Like why else would, like what else was the point behind that? So anyway, it doesn't hold like a whole lot of water for me. Especially what she says at the end. I'm trying to remember what it was she said exactly. um, the social godly authority at a large scale. It's like, yeah, but that's kind of what everybody was pointing out was that, okay, so she's saying this thing and she's basically, whether she's indicating or not that other women and other religions have authority. Let's just grant her this saying, yes, like she did not mean it that way at all. She only meant it in the sense of, like God has given us his power. She still said it in a way that would indicate that she believes that only the Mormon church has that power and authority from God. And that it is, if like she's indicating, and I still don't know her name. I think somebody mentioned it in the comments. I can't remember. I have a really bad memory. Um, but anyway, if she did mean it in the way that she is indicating that Sister Dennis meant it, which is that, oh no, she's just saying that, like we all have access to that, and that's how we get, to the next life, and that's how we become exalted. Well, it is given to men, but that's also the reason that so many women, the over 13,000 comments that were left, were about the fact that they don't feel that they have any authority because it isn't special. It isn't special to women, and we're not really propped up. It's just another one of those flowery, ridiculous statements made by somebody in a perceivable position of authority or power in the church that's really not, but that women in the church, like us out here on the ground every day, can identify with and be like, oh, that's so cool. Like she's in a position of authority and she's saying these things and she says I have power and that must mean I do. And like that's what the prophet has said too. And so that's really great. And it's like it just either it's special and women have this power or they really don't because you're still working with this power under the thumb of the men who also have the same power. So I don't see how this is power for women or how it gives them authority or props them up in any way equal to men. So I just don't really find her reasoning very sound, but she speaks a lot more eloquently than I do. So it probably sounded a lot better the way that she said it. But yeah, I still am not really seeing the logic here. So I did want to at least get a chance to comment on that video. I sometimes will see these videos come up in my feed, like the talk by Sister Dennis, that clip, and I'll just kind of hold my tongue. And I thought, what, this time I'm going to ride that train with everybody else. And I feel like I needed to speak out about it because again, one of the biggest reasons that I left the church was because of the vast inequality that women have. And I'll just end with this last little thought. I had towards the end of my time going to church, and this I think happened last summer when I was still going and trying to find reasons to stay. And it was during gospel doctrine, and I don't remember like how it came up. I think we were actually talking about Jesus Christ, and talking about like how he treated women or something like that, in the New Testament, because I think last year was New Testament. But anyway, this elderly man pipes up in class and he starts talking about how other religions, again, going back to the othering, he starts talking about how other religions and other people of other countries and other, um, you know, societies, like how they just don't, like especially in the Middle East, like they don't treat their women that well, and this is how they treat them. And then he ends with, so, I wanted to just say, like, I think we treat our women pretty well here in the church. And I literally did what I just did now, where I just did one of these and I was like, what a turd. Like, I'm sorry, but if you think that we are literally sitting here buying into, and maybe some people were, but like, I turned to my husband and I was like, can you believe that? Like, I was like, if you feel like you have to remind somebody or like a group of people how good they have it, then they probably don't have it that good. And you also know that too, because you wouldn't feel the need to fucking say anything to all of us about it to remind us that if you deep down knew that we really had it as good as you, like it just absolutely like floored me. I was so pissed. I was like, this is exactly one of the reasons that I am having difficulties with this church. And I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, anything is going to sound better when you're comparing it to the women who are stuck with fucking ISIS. Yeah, like, yeah, everybody else has it better than those women. Okay. Like, oh my gosh. Like, why? Like, also, oh, so many things wrong with that way of thinking. And again, it goes back to this like lack of like critical thought that's even taught in the church. And also just because, again, it is very psychologically ingrained and very deep into every member. And so deeply instilled. So it's just, these messages are absolutely pervasive. They do hurt women. I felt very hurt for a very long time and have just like felt like I was silently suffering. And I hope that more and more of you guys, who feel the need to, like, that you do start podcasts and channels and speaking up. I feel like we just need to be a roar of voices, against this that's happening. And I mean, because it isn't actually just within Mormonism. There are other Christian churches where, this kind of belief system exists as well, surrounding women and also other races. And I mean, it's horrible. And so, I mean, for some people, and I'm not trying to in any way try to pressure anybody into doing what I'm doing. This felt really good to me. It became my outlet. It became like a really great way to have a community and to be able to hear from other people who are, you guys are great, by the way. Just like, I seriously, like throughout the week, like I sit and I will go through comments and read as much as I can when I have a little bit of time. And it just makes my day. And so I really hope that anything I say makes your guys' day and that it helps anybody at all. So, because sometimes I kind of feel pretty selfish making this content because I enjoy getting to, to just let my freak flab fly on this channel. So that was probably like a really weird way to describe that. But anyway, I hope that you guys find value here, and I definitely find value in you guys coming to my channel. And I seriously, I love your comments. It's really great to read through. And for anybody who wants to challenge me on these things, like if you're going to leave a comment saying that I'm wrong, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I clearly don't know how to think through things, or I don't know critical thinking, or basically indicating that I'm dumb, I would love it if you would just actually like back up the shit that you have to say on my channel instead of just leaving me these little comments insulting me personally and like making these ad hominem attacks. Please back up your shit. I would love to have that conversation with you. So anyway, thanks to everybody who watches. I love all of you guys who are so supportive and wonderful, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.